Hi everybody, and welcome to the second section of this course, REST APIs, Concepts and Principles. In this section we will take a look at some theory about RESTful APIs, and also we will start implementing our project with Mongo, Node and Express. So the first video of this section is what are RESTful APIs. In this video we will dive into some theory about RESTful APIs, but don't worry, because from the next video on we will just have hands-on experience with the frameworks and the languages that we are using. So these are the key points of this video. The first one is what is an API? An API stands for Application Programming Interface, and basically an API is something that makes possible for two pieces of software to communicate with each other. The second goal of an API is to abstract the implementation of one piece of software to the other. So we can see this diagram to understand better the goal of an API. As you can see, software 2 is communicating with software 1 through an API. And basically, what this API provides us is the ability to communicate between the two softwares, but also the ability for software 2 to know nothing about the implementation of software 1, how it was coded and the internal functions. Software 2 just has a port, or an API in this case, to communicate with software 1. So now let's talk a bit about APIs on the web, or as are also known as web services. We are talking about APIs on the web in this course, and basically what changes from a normal API is that the mean of communication, the road to communicate between the two processes or the two applications, is the network. So communication over a network, and that's why APIs on the web are different from normal APIs. So let's take a look at how the web functioned before APIs, the old way. So we had a user with a computer, a desktop machine or whatever, and the user went to website.com. And once it went there, the browser sent an HTTP request to the server of website.com, and the server responded with an HTML response. So the browser took the response in HTML, rendered it on the screen, and the user can now see website.com. Also, once the user is on website.com, he wants to go on to website.com/contact. So the browser refreshes again, makes a full HTTP request to the server, and the server responds with an HTML response. And this is the old way, without APIs. Now let's see what changed with the implementation or the integration of APIs. So first of all, as you can see, our user here, when we are using an API, can be everything. A mobile application, a desktop machine, a laptop, something built with React, whatever. Just we need something that produces or is able to make HTTP requests. And in this case, we are on the user side into the mobile, and the home page is the first screen that the user sees. Once he goes there, the application makes an HTTP request to the server, and the server responds with just the data and not the whole HTML document, just data, and the data can be formatted as JSON, XML, or other formats. So as you can see, this is the main difference. We are not serving the whole file, we are just, because basically the user interface is already on the application. The mobile application or the React application, we already have the user interface. We just need the data, and to get them, we make an HTTP request and we get the data back. Same thing if we go into contact screen and we make an HTTP request and we get data back. So now we are going to the next point. What are RESTful APIs specifically? Because now we talked about APIs on the web, but what is REST and what is RESTful? So RESTful APIs are just APIs that have a specific set of guidelines to build a web service. And these guidelines mainly are the below points. So first of all, we have HTTP methods and status codes. The RESTful implementation specifies what are the HTTP methods and status codes to use. And then we have the thing that RESTful APIs must be stateless, so no session between requests. And every time that a request comes into the server, it's just like a brand new request, and the server knows nothing about you and about your request. So it's your job to provide all the useful information to the server about your request. And then data returned can be HTML, JSON, XML, and plain text. But usually for the application that we're going to build, which is in Express, Node, and MongoDB, we will stick with JSON because that's what is recommended. And also RESTful APIs have a guideline to implement CRUD operations on resources, and we will discuss these a bit later throughout the course. So let's now dive into one of the key aspects about what we see on the guidelines of RESTful APIs. And I am talking about HTTP methods and codes. So basically the HTTP methods and also their URLs are listed as below. The first HTTP method is the GET HTTP method, and GET is used to get a resource. And the URLs that we can use is example.com/blog, which will return all the blogs that we have, or example.com/blog/1, which will return just the single blog with the ID of 1. Then we have the next HTTP method, which is post. And with post, we can create resources. So if we use the URL example.com/blog, we will create a new blog into our database and into our server. Then we have the HTTP methods of put and patch. They are both used for updating resources, and we will discuss their differences a bit later throughout the course. And the URL that we will use is example.com/blog/1, which will update blog 1. Then we have the HTTP method delete, which will delete a resource. And the URL for the deletion of a resource is example.com/blog or example.com/blog/1. The first one is to delete all the blogs, and the second one is to delete just the blog with the ID of 1. And then we have the HTTP status codes. So every time we get a response from our server, we will have a status code attached to the response to make us know as the client what went wrong, what went well. So these are the status codes. They all are 3-digit numbers, and the ones that start with 1 are information responses, the one that starts with 2 are successful responses, the one that starts with 3 are redirection messages, the one that starts with 4 are client error responses, and the one that starts with 5 are server error responses. So some of the most famous ones that we will use a lot throughout the course are 200, which means success, 404, which means not found, and maybe you have seen these a lot when you search on some website and you don't find what you are looking for. Or you can get a 400, which means bad request from the client, or a 401, which means unauthorized, so the client is not authorized to make that kind of request, or 500, which means internal server error, which is really bad, and we will try to avoid those as much as possible. So for more information about all the status codes, we can go into this URL, and it's basically just the official documentation of status codes for HTTP requests. So here we have all the list, and you can go by yourself here to check everything that you want to know more about those codes. But rest assured that throughout the course I will explain each and every one of the codes that we will use, so don't worry. And now we go back to the next key point, which is how our technological stack, so Mongo, Node.js, and Express, fit into this application. And well, the user will not be implemented by us. You can implement it with, I don't know, creating a mobile application or creating a web application with React or Vue.js or Angular, whatever. We will not take care of these. We will just test everything through a browser or Postman, because we will focus more on the server. And on the server, we'll use Node, Express, and Mongo. So throughout the course, we will focus more on this side of the application. So why using REST? Well, first of all, REST is fast. It's faster than other types of web services because you can just retrieve and respond with data and not the whole document. Then it's efficient because using less data means that your bandwidth is less used, so it's better to use less data and it makes it more efficient. And then it's scalable because, of course, if you are fast and efficient, you can also scale pretty well. But also it's flexible because you can use RESTful APIs to connect with every kind of client from mobile apps to web applications. And this brings us to the last point, which is reusable. You can change things and also reuse them with REST.